everyone, Lou DiGiacomo here, VP of Product, and I'm here with Haley Clark as well. Haley, I want to give a quick intro.
Sure. I'm Haley Clark. I am currently working within our iHeart line of business as a performance strategist.
Awesome. So, everyone, what we want to talk about today is something about, everyone is talking about connected TV right now. Connected TV is a huge topic. Everyone is looking at their 2026 budgets, and everyone knows they need to optimize for CTV because everyone's talking about it and there's a lot of consumer eyeballs moving there. But one of the big existential challenges and the question that still remains, topic of this webinar is what happens after the ad? So CTV is a powerful medium that consumers are very familiar with. But a real big challenge there is that it's hard to measure, for a couple different reasons. So there's this bigger question of what happens after the ad, and a lot more tech and strategy needs to go into answering that question. So I think, Haley, where I would want to start is you have such a great pulse on your customers' business, on our clients' business and agencies and brand businesses. And you've helped use CTV and guide them to using CTV to help grow their business. And you've had to measure, along the way. It's inevitable that CTV has had to be measured in order to be a part of that marketing mix. So do you mind giving some thoughts for the audience here on what are agencies and brands and marketers talking about when they're saying CTV measurement? What are they referring to? And then what are some of the common misconceptions that are out there regarding CTV measurement?
Yeah, absolutely. Great questions. I think that, you know, in our current environment, we hear a lot about measurement around this piece of view through rates, right? And while it's a great metric to measure from a standpoint of directional type of information, it really shouldn't be what our North Star is, right? We're hearing a lot of people be more interested in, well, how is this impacting my bottom line? Well, how is it driving outcomes for my brand and my business? And that's really where Full Throttle comes in, because we are now able to really tie back all of these different attribution based pieces of information to our CTV efforts. And I think that's where the industry is really moving, which is great to hear. However, not something that is talked enough about. So really excited to dive into a little bit more of that today. But certainly even more excited to share with everyone that it's something that Full Throttle is really capitalizing on and has been capitalizing on.
Great points. We are very passionate about CTV as a tactic. We activate a lot of CTV. Our clients win when they win more when they activate CTV. And to just kind of zoom in on a couple items you discussed. So marketers are often using the wrong playbook when measuring CTV. And I agree with a bunch of your points. I think part of that is that CTV is this big screen experience. It's the same ad experience to the consumer that linear and traditional TV is. Sit down on the couch with, maybe a family member, and you see sight, sound, and motion, 30-second ad. It's a great opportunity to build trust, and that's where a lot of our clients see success there. However, traditional TV is not really that measurable. It's more directionally measurable. And then on the flip side, people want to take this digital approach to CTV, but you can't measure clicks on your TV. As much as people sometimes think that's the case, no one is really clicking through any CTV ad. So you can't use traditional digital metrics to measure CTV, and you can't measure, a linear from that capacity either. So it's kind of like this odd, twilight zone. And I think you brought up a great point where view through rate has been a common success metric there. Which just for the audience, view through rate or completion rate, however you want to, however you articulate it, is basically the average percentage of the ad that was watched. So if someone turned off the ad in the middle of it, it will be a 50%, view through rate. But I don't know, Haley, have you seen view through rate or completion rate helpful? Is it helpful directionally? Is it an indicator of anything? Because you are totally right. I see the same that people use it as like the be all end all of CTV.
Exactly, which I don't think that it should be used as an end all be all. to your point that you just made and something that I mentioned earlier was that it is directional, right? It is important from the standpoint of understanding, that users or that individual's specific consumption of the ad entirely. But let's face it, when we're running 30 or 60-second ads, most consumers are going to be watching that full spot. So do we use it? Should we use it as a success metric? I don't think so. What we should really be looking at is, have they made an action? Were they driven to do anything after that? And that really gets us into the conversation of the halo effect. It gets us into the conversation of, how does our technology really become unlocked after that viewing experience? So a lot of really great and exciting things within the world of CTV that is really being executed on through Full Throttle's technology, and being able to see more and more through the technology that we're deploying.
Love it. So to summarize some of that, view through rate, it's almost table stakes to have a high view through rate in CTV because, assuming you're running on premium content and it really is on the big screen, no one is really interrupting their show unless they have to turn off for whatever reason, But for the most part, no one is, abandoning a web page, or no one is abandoning a TV show in the same way they may have abandoned a web page or something like that. So a high view through rate for CTV is basically table stakes, and it doesn't tell enough of a story. It's almost just a regular kind of ante. It's the bar for entry if you want quality CTV. But you touched on something that I thought is a fascinating topic and isn't discussed enough, and that's the halo effect. So can you tell me more about the halo effect CTV has? What does it have this effect on? What might a marketer see downstream that's representative of this halo effect? And how do they think about this, in the world of what happens after the CTV ad?
The halo effect is really that incremental boost that a specific spot or a specific marketing tactic has on someone's actions at the end of the day. So when we think about the halo effect in terms of CTV, we're really looking at how does that impact someone's actions and some of the other marketing and advertising specific deployments that are going on as well. So we oftentimes see that CTV has this halo effect on things like paid social or SEM efforts because of the fact that they see it, they hear it, they are engaging with this brand in a way that is visually stimulating. They are receiving this wonderful message about a brand that is resonating with them. Therefore, they're going to be driven to go to someone's website or learn more about that brand. So what are they doing? They're going to Google, for example. They're searching for that brand in particular. Whenever they are on their socials, oftentimes, they are engaging with brands in that capacity. We're seeing a lot of social search is what we call it. So a lot more people are going to social to search for different solutions for these various brands that they're engaging with in CTV environments, for example, and being able to then engage with them further. So that's an example of how the halo effect is really being deployed in the wild. So when you see something in a CTV environment, that halo effect is really then activated for that entire customer's journey thereafter.
That makes a ton of sense, Haley. And to add to some of that, it's, what happens after the ad, sticking with the theme of the webinar, a lot of things that happen after the CTV ad airs is on social and search. So someone may see a CTV ad, then an hour later, they go and search something on their phone. And then to your point, credit is then showing up in Google Analytics through a paid search campaign. So not necessarily traceable to CTV, but if a marketer wants to really and comprehensively measure the full effect of CTV, they have to look at what happens to search and social while CTV and fast and and premium video is airing. And that's a realm through which we have told a great story with our premium CTV media partners like Comcast and Roku and Fox and Univision, where these partners are doing so much heavy lifting. And I heard a great analogy. I saw it on LinkedIn. It basically says, like, if last click attribution was applied to a restaurant, then your server will get all the credit for your meal, basically. Meanwhile, there's the chef and a bunch of other people working behind the scenes to bring that to light. The server is of course a part of it, but they're just the last part and the only part that the diner is exposed to. It's similar here, where you have a partner like Comcast delivering premium video in your big screen, creating this powerful ad experience that then has a halo effect on the user to go search later on. And then while the credit ultimately ends up in Google Analytics, that paid search ad performed better because there was this halo effect from CTV. And I think that is one of the most important takeaways, that we can give here. It's that CTV helps clickable media perform better. It's a force multiplier for that lower funnel clickable media.
Yeah, you definitely hit it on the nail there. And something that I always like to talk to clients about too is that we at Full Throttle can measure all of those pieces. So I love the fact that we can be able to tell our clients a fuller story about how all of this is, impacting their brand in particular. So all the way from how did someone make it to my site in the first place to were they served a CTV ad in the first place, and what did that drive them to do thereafter? What did those outcomes look like? All the way down to transaction-based value. So I think that putting all of those beautiful pieces together tells an even larger, bigger, and better story.
So Haley, we had a lot of good dialogue about kind of where marketers are currently thinking about with measuring CTV. There's a lot of untapped opportunity there, not just in using CTV, but also in measuring CTV and thinking about the success. What technology exists now that previously might not have been accessible, especially to like local and markets level, advertisers and brands and agencies? What tech now exists to make their CTV more powerful and more measurable?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. Looking at things like how are people making it to our website in the first place, right? So when we talked about the halo effect, we of course want to measure not only the impact of that CTV ad, but how is that individual eventually making it to the site? So we want to make sure that we're looking at that piece. And that really ties directly to our CTV aspect as well. And there is technology out there that will tell you both. So have we engaged with this person via a CTV ad, and how did they make it to the website? Because once again, it's important to understand all of the things in between that really impacted that action. And that's another piece of technology that is out there as well. So really being able to identify the other pieces of your marketing strategy that are really impacting an action that have stemmed from CTV. Also looking at it from a component of that CTV lift. So how has a CTV activation really impacted our ROI? So really looking at those different pieces of the full strategy, of the outcomes from that strategy, are all pieces of technology that are out there that are really allowing marketers to do more with less.